Give me a break.
What is up, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the Team Unconventional Podcast. I am joined with my host with the most. This is JT.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving.
And we're joined again by Tyler, who's our guest host today, because the Duke is out for today. Says he's busy.
Happy Thanksgiving, yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving to all, and I'm hoping that you guys had a good Thanksgiving. And like I was mentioned before, Mike is out. He said he was busy, so probably dealing with the aftermath of Thanksgiving, because it was Thursday for the U.S. And I want to go ahead and get started with that. How was your guys' Thanksgiving?
Solid.
Did you do anything fun?
I just hung out with the family, told funny jokes.
That's dope. Well, it was like what was it, like last week or a week and a half ago, that it's kind of sounded like you weren't going to go to Thanksgiving because the vehicle is like not available.
Yeah, I mostly try and keep like things that are going on in my personal life off the cast, but I had a situation arise where I had one vehicle in the shop and I had to sell another vehicle to pay for it to be in the shop. So I was in a bit of a limbo for about 4 or 5 days. It was really fun to walk to the grocery store and then walk back with the groceries. I hadn't done that in about 10 years. So it was really, honestly, it was enjoyable to kind of go back to where I felt like my roots were.
Fair. Yeah, I don't mean to put you on the spot or have you like tell personal information.
No. Yeah, I would tell you to cut that, obviously.
You want his social security number too?
Buy them V-Bucks before he finds out.
Yeah, I was mostly just explaining why I didn't bring it up unprompted. But yeah, it's no problem. I have a nice new black Cadillac that is the license plate Onyx. If any of you haters out there want to check out a real Pokemon whip, I might post it on the Twitter.
Showing that swag. How about you, Tyler?
Oh man, I've been laid out with a concussion, so I just stayed at home. I had a couple of plates brought to me, so I got to enjoy a couple of different takes on Thanksgiving Day traditions.
My apologies for our cuisine, by the way.
Man, who don't bring mac and cheese? Like
when it goes all dinner long, that's the price you pay. We underestimated how much people liked mac and cheese at our event.
Definitely, yeah. You can't keep doing that. That's got to stop at some point.
And here I was. He was thinking of, like, John made chili for Thanksgiving, and it's just like, man, you missed out on the mac and cheese.
I did tell a 20-year-old barista that I ate lobster inside of a turkey, and I told them to try it. So if you're out there listening, there's no way you are, but if you are, haha. How was your Thanksgiving, Matt?
It was good. I had the littles over with my little sister. So my niece and my nephew came over, and they beat me up. Definitely was tired. Tony and I didn't get a whole lot of sleep because we work swing shift, so we're up until like 4 o'clock in the morning most nights. And we got ready for Thanksgiving like 3 days before, and we're still shopping for stuff after we got off work because it's the only time that Tony and I can actually do anything. And we planned Wednesday night to go to bed early, so we were ready to go to sleep at 1. He fell asleep around his normal time, which is like 2:33, and then woke up at 6. And I didn't go to sleep until 3:34 and got up at 8. So he had much less sleep than I did, but we were both exhausted throughout the entire thing. As soon as the kids left, he was out. He fell asleep and he was gone. And they were here till like 7:30, and I was up until 3 the following day. But I got a lot of work done. It's like I got this week's episode of the podcast, like episode 5. Hope you guys like it. Rendered out and sent out. So it came out on time. Didn't have to fret about the time this time. Also recorded a couple episodes for the channel. Gonna be Rank Battle 17 today, but it's going to be, but currently it's up to 16. And I'm gonna hammer out the rest of the month today so that I don't have to worry about it for the rest of the week and get ready for season 13. So, but my Thanksgiving was great. We had a lot of turkey. I had some last night, and boy, it was good.
Boy, it was good.
Boy, it was good. But yeah, like outside of that, like I had a lot of fun. We drank a lot of pop. We ate a lot of turkey. They left, and I'm here today. Not as
Made
tired.
it.
Yeah,
Amen.
made it. So, to our cast members, family, happy Thanksgiving. All it's belated, but
Pretty belated, yeah.
yeah, it's a couple of days. But
Wow,
happy
couple
Thanksgiving
hours.
to everyone out there, and Tuck loves you.
There's no way you are. Oh man, that hit me a second time. Why you gotta do stuff like that? Oh.
All right,
Okay.
so we're gonna go ahead and swing into our first topic of today, and it's going to be the LAIC results. I'm assuming you guys have watched the end of the international championships.
I have not. I have not finished. I finished the first day. On the first day, and then I never watched the second day. And I watched Poland today. So
Tyler's ahead of me, but I actually always have up Victory Road on my computer when we do these podcasts. So I definitely can speak on these teams, but certainly have not seen them outside of Riley's team, which is pretty much it's the same 6 guys that we've seen all season from him. But outside of that, I have minimal.
who's Riley playing?
Riley's 6 is King Gambit, Among Us, the Urshifu Rapid Strike, Dragonite, Chen Pao, and the Fire Ogre Pawn. It's effectively super hyper offense with 2 guys that are slow enough that if the opposing player is trying to do some Trip Grooms shenanigans, you have
Super hyper.
really good options into that. Chen Pao, Urshifu, Dragonite, and Ogre Pawn are like these really good 4 Pokemon core that all work super well together in any kind of 2 or 3 man combinations. And then King Gambit is obviously the world famous set. This one actually did run Iron Head, but in the past he has opted instead of Iron Head to run Swords Dance. You see the black glasses, kind of like the Torkoal. You have an item that gives a bonus to 1 color, but you really only attack with that color, so it's kind of like a free item.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, just really cool stuff. The big change since Sacramento, that the tournament that you were at and I were at, that he took second. He has shifted Dragonite from a more aggressive item to the Assault Vest item to make it just a very bulky boy, just with only the item switch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Which is really neat because I like how Riley is planning to do his 2024 season. I am someone that kind of resonates with him, like not always switching up my Pokemon all the time, because when you switch out one, you kind of almost have to change the team around. And with him, like focusing on like the core 6 that he knows that he can play and changing the EVs around, that is it's to me it seems like a bigger option or a better option than it is to take out one Pokemon to replace another one, because then you have to change your team around for that one change, and it may not look like it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of work.
Well, certainly. I mean, Ogerpon is a Pokemon that wasn't available the whole year. It's only been available these last few tournaments, and he's using it. So I imagine that there's at least one Pokemon that will be shifted in the future for him. But the overall strategy of utilizing a really aggressive physical offense, along with a Pokemon like an Among Us that can checkmate and really support well your team, is a strong strategy, honestly. And when you do as well as he has so far, there's very little reason to change anything up as far as like that strategy, rather than the like being afraid to switch a Pokemon or a move. Always having this idea of like no special attackers and overwhelming you with physical offenses. Very impressive.
I can agree
But
to that.
as we saw in Sacramento, it is counterable, and if you put all of your eggs into the physical basket, and the opposing player has a Komo'o, for instance, with the iron defense, you can get into some real trouble.
Oh, absolutely. Which is something that I've been debating for a while with my Chien Pao, so whether or not that I should carry Haze or bring someone that could do Clear Smog or something like that. So because the like stat boosting is so prevalent now in today's meta, I thought about just having someone that can erase, but I think Haze is going to be the better option overall, only because of the fact that you not only get rid of like theirs, but you get rid of your own. And if you have someone like Urshifu with like the close combat or a Great Tusk that does a headlong rush, those minuses will disappear as well. And that might be the better play, especially if that's who you're bringing into future regionals.
Yeah, certainly in a vacuum, Haze seems to be way better. But as Riley has demonstrated, Clear Smog on a Pokemon that's super utility like Among Us is a little bit more valuable, because then you get to maintain the Ghost, or I'm sorry, the Ice, the Dark, and then the Sacred Sword move on Chin Pao, along with Protect.
Yeah.
So I think that's why he individually went for it. But I would certainly agree, in a vacuum, Haze is much stronger, especially because Pokemon like Komo'o, when they terrestrialize into Steel, become immune to the Clear Smog.
So why do you keep saying like things in a vacuum?
So when we talk about things in a vacuum, Chin Pao in a vacuum is faster than Landorus, right? But you can how the actual game turns out is Landorus is way more likely to put a Choice Scarf on than a Chin Pao. So outside of the vacuum, when you're actually talking about the context of your team, Chin Pao is actually undersped by the Landorus. Whereas if you're just talking about them and nothing else, aka in a vacuum, the stats are Chin Pao is faster, and Chin Pao is always faster.
With no items, right?
So if we're talking
Typically.
strictly
No buffs,
move,
no buffs, no items, just in the
Nothing else
vacuum of
exists.
space time where only their base stats exist.
and where only the move exists, Haze and Clear Smog, Haze is much stronger for all the reasons Matt is mentioning, in addition
Yeah.
to being able to go through steals. However, in the context of the team, where Among Us having like very little offensive presence, giving him another utility move is actually less detrimental than, for instance, Chin Pao, who you would have to give up either Protect, your Ice move, your Dark move, or your Sacred Sword, which has a very similar effect as Haze because it ignores your opponent's buff.
Sorry.
So that's more what I mean, like in a vacuum, is outside of like the rest of the variables.
I mean, even inside the rest of the variables, it still has a way to become useful. I mean, let's not forget Palafin ran it and has almost the same exact move pool that other Pokemon that has Haze. And people still decided to use Haze on Palafin and would probably still use it today just because the Donzo, especially in Poland, is being used a lot right now. So I mean, without Tatsugiri, it doesn't really do anything, which means that you're using a move that doesn't make sense. But if you can clearly see that your opponent has the down to Tatsugiri, you're probably going to want to bring in someone either with Haze, a skill swap, or just someone that could just drop stats really quickly. Otherwise, you're just kind of looking and be like, okay, now what do I do with this?
But functionally, Sacred Sword does the same thing for Chin Pao that Haze would.
Possibly.
Well, no, legitimately, because you're not getting intimidated by the Donzo, so you're not reduced, and both move. The only difference is the Sacred Sword does damage while ignoring the buff.
Right, but if it's not as effective, it's not going to do anything. It's like whether or not that it's like the talk about Urshifu and Surging Strikes. We got crits, so the damage isn't going to be lessened unless it's off typing. And then it doesn't matter if it crits, you're still only going to be doing like 20 to 40% instead of what you could be doing for like 60 to 90%. Does that make a little bit more sense of why, like, yeah, Sacred Sword does the damage and ignores those buffs, but at the same time, if you're hitting, Dodonzo, it ain't going to do that much damage because Dodonzo doesn't care about fighting moves. it's neutral to him, and it's still only going to be doing 30% because the difference in, that strength is greater than you could be looking at.
But Haze does 0 damage.
Right, but Haze takes away the stat up buffs so that your Pokemon that's right next to Chi and Pao can hit the Dodonzo for a lot more, which is the comparison of whether or not that's in a vacuum or not. Haze makes it so that your Urshifu can do more damage with close combat and erases the minuses from that close combat from Urshifu, especially if he's scarfed. So Urshifu goes first, close combats, gets the minuses. Haze comes up, removes those minuses. Or if you take Choice Scarf off, Haze goes first, Choice Combat comes second. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I never said that Haze wasn't good.
Well, you kept saying like it's in a vacuum, so it's like...
Yeah, when we're talking about it in a vacuum.
But not everything's in a vacuum.
It's not all in a vacuum.
Anyways.
Yeah, I certainly didn't say it was.
Anyways, so with Riley Factorez and his team, I feel like having Clear Smog is a really good way of removing those stat buffs, especially with Pokemon that has Defiant. King Gambit is starting to see a lot more play, which is really interesting because Fluttermane at the time wasn't being used a lot, but now Fluttermane's starting to come back in the limelight because a lot of people are swaying away from Ogerpon. And my question is, why do you think that is? Or here's the question: why do you guys think that people are leaning away from Ogerpon?
I think that Ogerpon was just kind of, teams just started being built around not really caring about his damage, and if you don't focus on him critting, there's no point to having him unless you have something like Follow Me, which still makes him a utility guy, but his damage output has really been normalized in the game, at least as far as I've seen him, as I've seen him get played.
Well, if we're talking in the context of LAIC and not in a vacuum, Ogerpon is 3 times in the top 8 and twice in the top 4. So it's kind of more relegated to a Roaring Moon status where players will opt for him and do really well with a Roaring Moon, but it's not necessarily what every individual player will collectively go for. Certainly, the rise of Pokemon like Rillaboom make it so it's a little bit less hurtful if you don't play Ogerpon. But another big part of it is you see a rise in Among Us with the drop in the Ogerpon, and Among Us has not only a pretty good matchup against most of the Ogerpons as far as like withstanding damage, possibly outputting damage if you're playing like a more niche set, but way more so just having the better redirect as far as taking the damage. I think outside of the Urshifu water, Follow Me with a water Ogerpon is a lot less appealing than a Rage Powder with a Among Us, despite that like you can stop the redirect with Among Us, but you can't with Ogerpon.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you guys seen him a lot in the ladder lately?
Who, Ogerpon?
Yeah.
Or
yeah, Ogerpon. Certainly not as much as maybe Iron Hands or Flutterman, but more probably about as much as a Roaring Moon, an Arcanine, Hisuian, those caliber of Pokemon.
Okay.
I see Ogerpon on tons of teams. I don't play him very often, but I see him as a 6th guy on a lot of teams. Mostly fire.
Yeah,
but
I would agree with that as well. Mostly fire.
At least for me on the ladder.
You're in Ultra Ball right now, Ty?
Yeah, really sad.
I'm in like the mid, like 10,000s. I'll get up to like 6,000 on a win streak, but I'm pretty low in the actual master rung. Where are you at with it, Matt?
Last night's video was about 13,000.
Okay, so you're about where I live. Do you see a lot of Ogerpon?
Kind of, which is why I asked the question. I use Fire Ogerpon, but I do believe that his EV sets need to be changed because I don't think that a lot of people are using him effectively. Or at least I don't think I am. Even with me having 252 EV into attack and like some base into speed, I'm still getting one-shotted by like shouldn't say one-shotted. I still get taken down quite a bit by opposing Landorus's or even Rock Slide Hisuian Arcanines.
Yeah.
Which have fully invested into by the way, fully invested into that Rock Slide choice band shenanigans. So that was really, really interesting to experience on the ladder quite a bit.
Yeah, the band definitely feels like one of the more popular items today on the Arcanines.
Yeah, which is great and all because like I do like the change up for the band item. I'm not always questioning whether or not that certain Pokemon should have it. Like I see differences in Dragonites now, so it's not always like the extreme speed Terra normal choice banded sets, and I get a little bit more variety, which is neat because I love that.
Yeah, if we're talking about LAIC specifically, we have 3 different items on 4 Hisuian Arcanines.
Yeah.
So it's definitely coming into the Dragonite territory where it's not a guaranteed item like an Ogerpons item.
Yeah. So I have the
Yeah.
I have the top 12 Pokemon of day 2 if you guys want to listen to it.
Yes.
So we've got a few ties, quite a bit actually. So sharing number 1 is Fluttermane and Iron Hands, both at 54.3%. Rapid Strike Urshifu at 48.6. Sharing the 3rd spot, Landorus Therian form at 40 and Tornadus Incarnate also 40. Sharing the 4th spot, 37.1, we've got Amoonguss and Heatran. Sharing the 5th spot, it is Golden Go and Rillaboom, both at 34.3. Hisuian Arcanine at 28.6. Roaring Moon at 25.7. And Chia Pao comes in at the last at 14.
And this is day 2 with only the top 32. Or is it more? Did this one have more than 32 in their day 2?
Day 2 top 12.
No. The actual number of humans that made day 2 today for LAIC was actually 34. So this is the stats of the 34 players, correct? This is
Correct.
not necessarily the field that you can expect to see in your 9 rounds, but this is what performs well.
Yeah. So
And
half the teams use either or both Fluttermane and Iron Hands, and the list goes on after that. But yes, it's about I think 34 or 32 players.
I just looked at it. It is 34 for LAIC day 2.
Okay.
Yeah, Fluttermane and Iron Hands are great synergy together. Urshifu and Tornadus, along with Landorus, makes like an awesome 5-man set, and you throw an Amoonguss or a Heatran on there, and you're kind of good to, or even a Golden Go, and you're kind of good to go, realistically.
Yeah, like you can almost build like 3 teams with just the top 12 specifically, and not
that make a lot of sense together.
Oh,
Not just like
absolutely,
random 6.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like, oh, I don't like just knowing the top 12. You can literally make so many teams, and it would be amazing.
It is really important to note where we are as far as speed control in today's video game championship. LAIC was completely dominated by Tailwind. In our top 12, we have no one who is likely to use Trick Room or Icy Wind. We have guys that can learn it, but it's a totally different thing to actually be using it. But we have 2 of the top 12 that are almost always packing Tailwind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fake Out is the other really big thing to note, as we are still in the grips of the Fake Out meta. Rillaboom and Iron Hands are really the only guys right now, but as we look to Regulation F, there are going to be some really interesting guys to be thrown into that mix that'll, I think, break a little bit of those usage numbers up.
For sure, but there's still only one Pokemon that can spore ever.
I mean,
ever.
He, as always, dominated. Among Us is my vote for the greatest video game Pokemon ever. Landorus is right there with him, as we see again in a top 12. But the Spore is something that I have a lot to thank for, honestly.
I wish that he just wasn't so slow, but I get it. Like, the dude puts anyone to sleep.
Yeah, it's the best part about that guy.
It's like, oh, a Trick Room, and it's like, okay.
Well, and the sleep timer doesn't go off until the next turn for you. Like, we talk about those guaranteed turns of sleep, and it's 1 to, I think it's 3 or 4 turns is the max. Having the guy go last really helps with that.
Oh, for sure. Plus his ability for regenerators, so you just swap him out to get a third of his health back is pretty dope.
Just an elite Pokemon for all time. Terrestrialization was also so good to him or her, thankfully.
Absolutely. So those are the top 12. And obviously I use quite a bit of these Pokemon in my team. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I got 5 of the 12
Of your current 6, yeah, you
of
heard
my
it here
current
first,
6.
team
Yeah.
of listeners. Matt is a meta player. It's fun that Chen Pao is the only ruin now that is represented in any top 12 capacity and really the last several tournaments. Chi Yu has just fallen off a cliff.
I think it's because of the fact that not a lot of people plan to use Chi-Yu. Like, yeah, his beat is it Beats of Ruin?
Yeah, Chi Yu is the beads.
Like his Beats of Ruin is pretty good, right? Does the same thing
Yes.
as Chien Pao, but for special defenses. But a lot of people can counter him, and a lot of people do bring in Scarfed Urshifu, and he does outspeed Chi-Yu. So it's kind of hard, but you also have Landorus out there that can withstand a lot of his tag. So if it wasn't just locked into like Heat Wave, Overheat, or Dark Pulse, I think Chi-Yu would be a lot better off. But he has a ton of counters.
A big part of that is if we look at our top 12s, the special offense compared to the physical offense, a lot of the special attackers on this list and other lists are built bulky. Like Golden Go, Heatran, these are not Pokemon that fully invest into their attack, whereas Fluttermane certainly is often. But if we look at our physical attackers, you look at Urshifu, Landorus, Arcanine, Roaring Moon, and Rillaboom, and all of those very often are the maximum allotted attack and even sometimes the adamant nature.
Yeah.
So these are Pokemon that are really leaning into their offense rather than their bulkiness and then setup moves, like with Golden Go and his Nasty Plot, or Heatran with his stopping switch move, or his Will-O-Wisp. But we do have the Fluttermane representation, but I think that's a big part of it. Is the most successful Pokemon that are leaning heavily into their offensive capability happen to be physical attackers.
Yeah. And that might be the reason why that we see a lot of Chien Paos instead of Chi-Yus. I do see Chi-Yu quite in the latter. And then usually they team them up with like a Water Ogerpon because they're like, oh, here's a Chi-Yu. I'm just going to Surging Strikes into it. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, no, you're not. And the Gastrodon's starting to make a comeback into the meta too, which is great. But if you're across the way from any type of Ogerpon, either rock, water, fire, even just the normal grass type, a Wood Hammer, it's a one-hit KO regardless of what you do with it.
Yeah, it's an emergency terrestrialization for the Gastrodon player.
Yeah.
There's also, not to be overlooked, is certainly Chen Pao's place in the speed tier right now. He's still amongst the fastest things without an item. So like if Chi Yu and Chen Pao's stats were flipped, it is possible that we would see as much Chi Yu as we do Chen Pao, who is, like, at the end of the day on day 2 is only like a 14% usage. So it is possible that Chi Yu is at like 8%, which in the grand scheme of the world is not that big of a jump. But it is fun to point out that really Chen Pao's the only treasure that gets these top 12 talkings anymore.
Absolutely. So at 14% out of 34 players, what would you say, like 3 or 4 people are using it?
You know, I'm really good at math as a Pokemon master, but that's a lot for me. So I'll bust out a calculator for you, but
It's 5.
I don't know.
5 players.
5 players at least.
I had a 32. That's a fair amount.
34.
34.
Yeah. So at 34 players, 10% means at least 4 players have to have it. So at least 4.
Tyler's math is correct. It is 5 players,
which isn't bad. That means that more than half the teams used Fluttermane and or Iron Hands.
Oh yes.
Landorus and Tornadus and Heatran and the Moon. Wow.
That's true. That's a lot. That's a lot of what makes it all the way up. The bulkiness, and the ability to live through things with the Terra, man.
And the rain dominating once again the weather war. Me and Matt, I think, probably would have been betting on the sun at this point in the development of VGC, but Tornadus with a stranglehold on making it rain, and then letting Urshifu and Golden Go benefit from the rain.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I've been using Rain Dance quite a bit on the last few episodes of the season 12 rank battles. And even though that it's helped their Urshifu, but it's also helped me get 100% Bleak Windstorms, and it's been able to knock
Yeah.
out Pokemon. Or telling, Heatran to go, hey, you can't do as much damage, or looking at Torkoal and be like, so about that sun, no. And then it's been really, really interesting to see how the Weather Wards has been. I'm really sad that Snow has kind of taken a step back again, but I understand why. Alolan Ninetales isn't like the best setter for that, and a lot of people would probably disagree with me. But I was able to one shot Alolan Ninetales with a non-Terra Garchomp with hardly any investment into attack with just one Iron Head. Just putting that out there. It is ×4, but when you can do that same result with Golden Go or Urshifu with Iron Head, or it's not a heavy slam by any means, but Iron Hands can knock out Alolan Ninetales. So maybe we should start looking at Abomasnow again, or having Tornadus set up the snow, maybe.
If you give Tornadus honestly any other weather, you limit its ability to be successful because of Bleak Windstorm.
Bleak Windstorm, yeah.
For the record, though, just I did a quick scan. We do have one Ninetales that made the day 2, but we have 3, and count them, 3 Chi-Yus, which also made it all the way to second place. So despite Chin Pao being the top 12 representative, Chi-Yu actually made it further into the tournament.
Oh, that's
It's
dope.
basically a pale yellow. I mix purple and yellow.
Have you guys beaten your Samurott raid?
Nope.
I haven't.
I haven't even attempted it.
Neither have I.
I've gotten every 7 so far. They're super easy at this point in the game if you've been playing the whole year, which is nice. It's nice to just take your brain out and let the new charm grab you so many resources. But yeah, no, not myself.
So here's a question for you guys then. Not to spoil the LAIC, but the second place winner brought in a Terra Ice Regieleki. How do you guys
He
think
did.
about that?
Standard Regieleki. The Terra Blast to deal with those pesky Landorses, the very fast speed control with Electro Web, Magnet, and just trying to be as bad as it can be. Yeah, really strong Pokemon. This is the Chi-Yu team, of course, so it's way more leaning into the special attackers than the physical. It has only one physical attacker on the whole team,
Yeah.
which is funny enough a Water Ogre Pond.
Yeah.
It does take away from it. Plus, you have like the Indeedee with the follow me, and then be able to redirect stuff with other people.
And stop the priority. Like that's a big, like this isn't an Indeedee Armorish team, but Indeedee stopping priority I think has been really underrated these last 6 months.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's something that while I was researching the topic,
Little lime
apparently there was some disqualifications of the LAIC. Do you guys want to delve into that, or just let the...
Yeah, X can talk about that certainly. I don't really follow those super heavily, so it takes a while for it to reach my ears. But if you wanna drop us into some knowledge, I'm open for it.
Okay, so yeah, this came to me from a YouTube video as I was getting ready for the Poland regional. Apparently a top 8 competitor was disqualified. I don't know which one, but a top 8 competitor was disqualified for having hacked mons. And a TCG player, and this one's a little bit more like iffy, because it was the runner-up for the 2023 World's Championship. I think his name is Tord Reckliffe or something like that. Apparently, he was disqualified in the LAIC for delay of game. Apparently, it took him 13 minutes to do a turn. And I don't know how true that is. I never saw him on live stream. And I know Pokemon turns do take quite a bit. So depending on the deck, it's unlikely that it would take that long. But it's really, really odd that he would get disqualified for something like that. Especially since
13 minutes.
For one turn.
That's elite thinning right there.
So it's like, I don't want to put into any of these like say that these are 100% true. Obviously they're going to be allegations. But that's the word on the street. And I did see a couple of responses on X from one of the players, which was Tord, but not the other player that got disqualified. I mean, we watched almost all of the top 8 matches, and I caught the final one, so I don't know which one, but it was odd.
Yeah, Pokemon drama. It can be odd.
I wouldn't really like. Would you guys consider that drama? Is like if you get disqualified?
Yeah. The metronome top 4 of Korea was definitely drama. Like drama doesn't have to be bad, but it is like it's the things that are outside of the game that like people are chatting about, people are talking about, people are excited about.
Well, fair. Dang, for 128 places, you still get CP and Intercontinental.
Oh yes. These international championships are no joke. I would love to start trying to plan a Louisiana, New Orleans visit for the NAIC, but it's a long shot. But yeah, the CP is incredible. You get halfway to qualifying for even the top 8.
Yeah,
So
I see that.
incredible.
Like top 16 gets like 200 CP, but the prize money though. Like we should
Yeah.
look at maybe going to the NAIC. I think that'd be kind of cool.
It would be a once in a lifetime experience. The presentation is even greater than the regionals we've been to, and so certainly in the generation of Scarlet and Violet, I'm gonna thrive to do that. But we'll see if it's this year. We're still trying to get to locals out here, listener. We were unsuccessful again this past week, but I think maybe this week, maybe it'll happen. It is the holiday, so I'm not even sure if they're going this week.
I mean, probably.
Yeah, you would assume.
Yeah, I mean, probably. Like, I wouldn't say that no one's doing locals. I think a lot of especially in the local Discord for our VGC team, like a lot of people been doing grassroots or like online tours. So like,
Oh yeah, that's a big part of the community.
oh yeah, and do they like to run official tournaments to get CP? The crowd has to be big enough.
No.
No.
Only to hit kickers.
I thought like people, because when I was looking up and seeing what it would take for me to do like an official tournament for like the podcast and stuff like that, and maybe get
yeah, you got to be a legit store that has a relationship with the company for sure. But I thought you were talking about like how many people need to show up to get CP for winning the event. My fault.
Oh yeah, no. It's just that's all. I thought it was really really interesting to go into these tournaments and like earn CP, and I think that's how a lot of our own community is able to do it, because there's not a lot of premier challenges happening. They're like once a month.
No, they're every week at Gambits. They have I'm looking at it right now. They have it today.
It's a premier challenge. I thought you like,
yeah, they don't use the phrase premier in the like the title when you search, but if you search with the filter of the video games, it's the points, and it says at the bottom in the description it's a premier challenge. And
Oh,
it
okay.
awards CP. So it is that for us it's the only spot in the whole state that does it every single week. But for us on the 18th is a premier challenge in Troutdale, the 18th of December, and then on the 30th there seems to be a mid-season showdown at the same location in Troutdale. So they're starting to pop up. You know, we did only get allowed to run these events within the last 13 months.
So it's been a year.
I'm sorry, no, it's the Portland Regional was actually the very first local that same weekend. So it's only been 7. So we're getting it. We have Troutdale and the Portland proper in our neck of the woods, but they might start popping up in Salem here in the next couple months. The TCG, obviously, if you're listening and are a TCG fan, you know that every card shop in America has those events. We're strictly VGC without the Duke, so that's all we're talking about.
Yeah, and we would like to try to get the Duke to play a little bit more, but I don't know if he's going to play. I would really like it, but I do know that the Duke has problems seeing, and that's just because of his medical condition. So if I could try to make it so that he could, if anything, right, get the podcast big enough to where I could talk to the Pokemon company directly, be like, hey, can you start doing TCG live tournaments so that my uncle can actually play? that'd be perfect. Because then he would be able to come and compete and have fun with like regionals. But if it's only physical card games, then it's just kind of like I don't know. Because I do love Mike. I want him to come out to like get out of the house a little bit more. But I know that I don't want to say old, but
Yeah, he's old.
well, I don't want to say he's old, but like I
Well, you
worry.
didn't
I
have
worry
to.
about him.
Johnny said that for you.
Yeah. He's old. And he doesn't want to compete me. Like it's gonna be a T-shirt. Mike, I just want you to compete in
Yeah.
VGC. But like he doesn't. So like listener, it's not us, it's Matt. And it's okay for Matt to want that, but don't put me with that evil, sir. He loves his TCG Live. Me and Tyler have both now downloaded TCG Live, so in the next couple weeks we'll actually be more informed to talk with him. Last week's episode definitely showed me just how out of the loop I am on such a big part of the fandom.
I can agree to that. Like, I don't play TCG Live as much as I would like. The times that I could play is when I'm playing pool, and my phone is usually taken from me to keep score, so I can't really play then. So I try to do the best that I can to log in to play, but I have a little bit more fun with the video game, and I get to do Ogre Ousting.
True story. I will say that I was talking with Mike off mic, and he told me what won the LAIC and the TCG, and it's what I have been playing on TCG Live. So
Mhm.
that's been really cool because I win a lot of games right now.
What is it?
I play Raichu Flaffy. I've been playing that since the Raichu came out in Brilliant Stars.
Oh
Because
yeah.
it's variable damage, which is always something I appreciate in Pokemon, where it's not a set number, but rather it's up to like any number that you can create the resources for. Golden Go's another really good Pokemon for doing that. But Raichu is electric type, and one of the items they've printed since I've been away is an item that can generate between 0 and 2 energy onto the bench. So you can use like 3 of them if you draw 3 of them. So it's a lot of fun, but it's like super inconsistent. I have no idea how it took first at such a giant tournament, but it is a really fun deck to play, and I can't wait to chop it up with him about that when he comes back, because I know that he had looked into what was doing what at the LAIC.
Well, I have some ideas of how it won. I did watch that match, and it was pretty insane. The item that he's talking about is called Electric Generator, and it looks like top 5 or something like that to get energy to put on the bench. But you have cards like Miraidon that literally search out basic electric Pokemon, and you put those down there as well. It makes it really, really fast, and you thin out the deck so quickly, and before you know it, you've got a bunch of Pokemon down on the bench, including Raikou V, Iron Hands EX, and a lot of different other like high attacking cards or high valued cards that make it so.
is the big one.
Yeah, and then he just kills it.
Yeah, and Raichu can attack the first turn, which is also super rare in the Pokemon TCG. If you go first, he's allowed to attack the first turn, and he generates another energy. So the deck can generate a large amount of energy, and once it's been utilized and discarded, it can refill it from the discard pile. But like if I was going to sit down to 9 rounds, I would be really surprised if it came out on top, and it clearly did after way more than 9 rounds. So all props to that TCG player. We've lost Tyler for the week because of concussion protocol. So thanks for coming on again, Ty, and we hope to see you again soon.
Oh, he's gone again?
He's gone again.
Oh no.
Yeah, well, talk about medical conditions. Our man has a little concussion right now.
Yeah. Yeah, so
It's
it's like whatever time that we get with him is much appreciated.
Yeah, and he was great on the cast, honestly. A lot of fun.
So, let's go ahead and take a little bit of a break. Do you want to continue or do you want to end?
Oh, I'm cool to keep chatting if you have anything else you wanted to talk about, or we could break, and I guess on Spotify you're gonna put in a little dancing emoji or something.
Well, it does have video for some reason. I thought it was just strictly audio, but it's fine. All right, since there's that. So, do you want to talk about some of the other? Because we did the we talked a little bit about the Poland regionals that they're playing. We're not going to speculate what people are going to be like bringing or whatnot. Do you know who won the LAIC? I know you're going off Victory Road,
Yes.
so
Yeah. I have the team sheet, but I haven't seen it like played. Like a really important thing I think to note is the second place player probably a couple rounds did exactly what you were suggesting, which is to open Chi-Yu and Ogre Pond, and have like a guy that could redirect those pesky water moves while you're pressuring both with special and physical. So like I
absolutely.
don't know those intricacies of the team because I only can see the team sheet and the things that are shown to me.
Mhm.
But I do know who won. Shout out Marco Silvia.
Yep, shout out to Marco. Like his match was really, really interesting. The thing that I took away before the match even started, right? I think his name is Tiago, second place winner.
Tiago.
Tiago. Oh, my apologies.
Oh, I'm just kidding. I have no idea.
Oh.
Shout out Tiago if that is your name from Brazil.
Again, our apologies if we mispronounced your name, but he and Marco fought each other 2 other times before the finals. I don't know who won. They had the exact same win-loss record, so one of them had to have lost, and then one of them had to have won to get back to that point. And it seemed that Marco knew all that he needed to know about that team. So I don't want to say that knowledge is like the best way of winning, but I would
No, it's the best way
assume
of winning.
I would assume that Tiago had won the first game and then Marco had won the second game. And I'm not talking like because it's always best of
sets.
3.
Yeah, the sets.
He won the first set. Like Tiago won the first set and then Marco won the second set. And you can see that in the third set. I think he went 2-0 or 2-1.
Goodness. Yeah, it really speaks to the highest level of play, how if you even show the same thing to them twice, they're able to completely pick it apart. Paul Chua was another great example. The previous event in Toronto, one of the North Americans' most winningest players had a very similar thing. This knowledge is certainly the best way of winning, and I think that's a big reason why the Pokemon Company, before making this big jump in its pricing and its presentation, has made these open team sheet changes.
Mhm.
Because in the era that you and I grew up in, because we're also old, you basically either had a group of friends who would scout out what the other guy was playing, and like you would try and piece that together, or you would have to go a full game not knowing anything about the other team except for the 6 and having to figure out on the fly things like choice scarf interactions, covert cloak in today's era, but not back then, things like that. So
Yeah.
it's definitely knowledge is power and one of the most powerful tools in the Pokemon.
Absolutely. So like the one thing that I dislike about how the 2024 champion series goes is that when we go to play on the rank ladder, we do not get open team sheets. So it's kind of hard to figure out if our team has a good standing to certain Pokemon types because there's no way for us to really see it, which is something that I like about Showdown because you can show team sheets to others and they don't show like individual EVs and IVs and stuff like that. You could surmise that, but you know the attacks, you know the items, so you make different moves, like different moves to different people. So there could be like a group of battles where I taunt every person and then realize, oh, well, 3 out of the 5 matches I recorded all had mental herb. I'm not going to taunt that person because I'm always thinking they're always going to have the same thing, and it's not always the case. So it's the one thing that I really dislike about having closed team sheet in the ranked ladder because I can never really get like I get some knowledge, but at the same time, I'm always left in the dark about certain things. And then there's just because I'm left in the dark so much that I make like terrible moves because I should be playing better. And I wish that they had like a more of a official move set where it's like, oh, I'm gonna do this and then battle someone where I get to see not only the 6, but I can click and see what their move sets are. Or it kind of goes up like on the live stream where it's like, oh, here is your opponent's 6 Pokemon, and they see mine, and it goes beyond that, and I go, okay, well, at least I know what I'm looking or what I'm expecting or what I'm looking for, and have like an easier time dealing with it. But
I think this is why every VGC player praises Showdown, because most Americans in our neck of the woods run heavy Showdown because now they even have best of 3 open team sheet.
yeah,
Whereas an important thing to remember though, Matt, is that in Japan, all of their official events are still closed team sheet, best of 1. And
yeah,
so
oh
the
yeah,
Japanese games ranked ladder reflects the Japanese format still, and that was where we were at as Americans and all over the world except for the Japanese, until very recently. And I honestly I've become so spoiled with the idea of open team sheet,
yeah,
but this is another reason why it's so important to go to your locals as well, because not only do you have the experience of the open team sheet best of 3 format, but you have people to knock around ideas with and just enjoy the fandom like you do.
sure, sure. I probably don't have like as good knowledge as what other people do. I know that there was a character last time that we went to locals that was really into ball collecting, like you are, and I wish I could care more. I
Yeah, I think of the 1% of people that do VGC that you and I are now a part of, I think the majority of that 1% agrees with me on the ball. But like, you don't have to care about that. That's the best part about the Pokemon fandom.
it's
None of
a,
that really matters.
I like the Ultra Ball. If I could have any Pokemon in anything, it would be the Master Ball because I'm a Pokemon master. But the Ultra Ball is just as great. And I kind of like I each ball
Oh, you've been Ultra
has.
Ball since day one. That's you. That's you.
I mean, yeah, day one of like Sword and Shield, and possibly before. I don't know if I used any other balls, but like at the same time, I took it as they're just cosmetic. So I was like, oh, I caught this Pokemon in this particular ball because it would look cool. I was like, well, does it do anything else? Like, no, I just wanted to have like stickers come out every time I threw it. Like, oh, that's dope. I don't need that. So I just
Gen 4 stickers hits different.
they do.
Oh yeah, that's great. That's pretty
Um,
sweet.
but that's why I was like I didn't see any like any type of advantage. And the catch rate on those balls are extremely unfair.
Not
So
anymore. Nowadays, almost every after you have the charms, almost everything's a critical catch, regardless of what you throw.
until it's not.
I always save before I use a 1 per ball on a guy, and I've had to reset the game once the entire generation, honestly.
That's
Uh,
dope. I still
yeah,
struggle
the
just
catch.
trying to catch a regular dude just in an ultra ball.
Do you have the catch charm? Okay, well, your experience may vary.
I have all the charms in the game that's readily available. So it's like if it's not a critical capture, then it's just a regular capture, and I still have to throw like 7 or 8 ultra balls just to catch one Pokemon that is objectively way too high level, but it is what it is.
I suppose. The only Pokemon you have to catch in those conditions is the Paradox one.
Well, no, the entire Kitakami decks are Pokemon that are 70 plus.
But all of them are attainable in raids, which have 100% catch rate. Yeah. So like, but you do have to catch the paradox ones currently because it's only event based on the raids.
Yeah, but like the paradox ones, like they're common enough to where it's a big deal,
Okay.
but not that big of a deal.
I'm gonna need you to clear things up for our listener that might be screaming this. When we talk about the catch rate, are you talking about after using false swipe and spore like a good boy?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, well, there it is. Thank you, listener. You sent it psychically to my brain, and I asked Matt. Now you know.
Well, I do have Breloom now, but for the longest time when I was trying to do the living decks, I'm still working on it. I think I'm 50 mons down
Nice.
before I'm officially done. But I didn't have Breloom in my party that has False Swipe and Spore, and there was some points when Pokemon hunting where I would Spore, and then they would immediately wake up and then like try to either use explosion or try to knock me out. So I stopped trying to do that as much.
Yeah, hot tip to any listener that's not aware: if you use Spore and False Swipe Breloom, critical catches are through the roof. I've had to restart a game to conserve a special ball all of one time the entire generation. Because of this combination that I've been using since the game came out. False Swipe always leaves the Pokemon with 1 health, and unless they're a grass type, Spore 100% sleeps them, which is a guaranteed for 1 turn that they don't do anything. So if you're a big fan of special balls, unlike Matt, this is an easy way to conserve them, but it's all fun. It's all pixels, shiny, ball marks. They're all just aesthetics. I don't blame you for not liking them.
I just don't think that the catch rate is fair. But I like anything, like I have 8 badges, defeat the Elite Four Pokemon that are like severely weaker than my lead Pokemon still have the same catch rate as a Pokeball, and it's weird. Especially in Scarlet and Violet. I think I had like better outcomes in Sword and Shield, but in Scarlet and Violet it was really, really hard to catch a few Pokemon. I literally threw 15 Ultra Balls at one Pokemon and then caught it. And that's like legendary levels of like trying to catch Regieleki or Regidraco. And it's like, I shouldn't be throwing this much just to catch one Pokemon, even with False Swipe Spore. It was incredibly off.
A great t-shirt idea would certainly be the meme of the side by side, how you think it's going and how it actually is going with myself and Matt. Definitely, if you're listening still, write in, because I think you and I are just on opposite ends of this catching spectrum, and I'd like to see what other people's experiences have been so far.
I would like to hear what their catching experiences are, and they use special balls, so I would really like to hear from you guys, especially at home, whether or not that you have better chances of catching people. I have the worst experience at trying to catch people, which is why I always use Ultra Balls, but I wish Master Balls were not limited to 1 per game. Like, I understand, but I wish they weren't. I like the look of the Master Ball.
No, they're not. How you can get them, listener, is if you run the Ace Trainer tournament, there's a 1% chance that you get one of the special balls, and Master Ball is included in that.
1% chance, man. Come on.
I mean, but until the Elite Four, there's not really a more effective way of generating the money in the game, the hard
sure.
Pokemon dollars.
Yeah.
So, like, if you got to do it anyway, it's nice that 1% time you get a cool new ball.
No, absolutely.
I haven't seen any Master Balls in the auctions yet, and I've won every type of the other balls so far. So if you're out there, listener, and you know another way to get the Master Ball, hit us up, because I'm at like 3. It's always nice to have that cool purple ball that you and I, because we're old, remember throwing at the Mewtwo.
Yeah, or a legendary bird. I've done that. I've thrown a Master Ball at Moltres.
On the second playthrough, oh yeah, because it always felt easier to catch Mewtwo than any of those other guys.
For sure.
Back when legendaries were hard and not just given to you.
They're still hard. Don't say that. Especially like if you don't have access to Sword and Shield's Tundra DLC, they're super hard. But getting to those fights are a little difficult. But I always have a really, really cold spot for that raid for Palkia. He was a douche.
Yeah, probably the best part of the Sword and Shield era was the endless Dynamax, the max Dynamax raids, where you rented Pokemon, and it was very difficult, but you were always, at risk of getting a player who it was their first time trying it, or they aren't as hip to you, or maybe not even an adult, which is the majority of the Pokemon fandom. So like that was always difficult, but when you had 3 good buddies, it was probably one of the greatest Pokemon experiences. Definitely in the Switch era, but maybe even all time.
What he's trying to say, listeners, is I got griefed a lot.
Yeah, I have a feeling if any listeners are out there who did random, there's a lot of that.
Yeah, I got griefed a lot. But I also did it a ton. Like I capped the currency like 3 times. That's how much I did it.
Which definitely puts you in that 1% of Pokemon enjoyer category, certainly.
Well, I loved the fights. Like it was really, really interesting. It was always completely random. It's like going in with a rental team and you don't know what you've got and you don't know what your teammates has until like the first encounter, which is great. We all decided which way we wanted to go, and the endless run, which we barely got to do, seemed very, very, very appealing to me. But you only got access to that after catching a certain amount of Pokemon in the
Yes.
max raid dens. But
Really helped cut out the first guys that I was talking about, the guys that's their first ever attempt at it.
yeah,
Really cut that part of it down. It was very impressive.
absolutely. And then the Pokemon that you caught outside of the endless dens seem to always have their hidden ability, which made it so good because then I would go catch like duplicates of the things that, me and our teammates could use. And then I don't know when, but then they stopped having their hidden abilities.
Once the ability patch came out in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, it was for a long time. And frankly, if you were brand new to the advanced part of Pokemon in the Switch era, this was the biggest selling point of the dens, was that you could really catch up with people who had been doing this since the Diamond and Pearl era and had gone through the now discontinued Pokemon Dream World to get all the hidden abilities.
So they discontinued that feature when Diamond Pearl came out for the Switch.
So they switched it as a guaranteed hidden ability when the remakes of Diamond Pearl hit, but the Dream World has been discontinued since I want to say the Sun and Moon generation, which was how the first iteration of the hidden abilities was in the Dream World, and it's how players that were in the advanced part of the Pokemon community at that point got like Pokemon like Charmander with the solar power and Bulbasaur with the chlorophyll. And then over time, the Pokemon Company has been really good about distributing these Pokemon through various means. But that was the first part of it, and then in the max dens, it was when it felt like you could get everybody, and that's when the players could catch up to those people who had gotten such frankly, a giant advantage. Because armed with a Ditto and a hidden ability Pokemon, you could make VGC perfect Pokemon all the time.
Mhm.
And so the Switch, the Sword and Shield era, did such a good job of integrating the player base into the realm of like the best players on the earth, that we're really seeing, I think, the fruits of the labor now with players like Justin Tang able to actually come from a showdown or liking Pokemon to easily having everything that a player who maybe has been playing since the 2009 season would have. All obviously my opinion, but that's looking at it kind of like zooming out. That's what I've seen from Sword and Shield. I know it gets a lot of hate from the community, including myself, because of Dexit and the poor graphics in parts. But that integrating everyone into being able to enjoy Pokemon at the highest competitive level really was introduced in Sword and Shield, and every game since then has been in like incredible jumps. Like the Arceus games gave us another way to get all of the genies, which you could definitely now argue two of them are the most important Pokemon that you can have access to.
For sure.
So like every game has really taken another step in that accessibility, and it's beautiful, honestly, to see now going out into these competitions. Not only because like everyone is more welcomed, but the skill level is greatly enhanced because the player base no longer has to spend 200 to 300 hours in just Pokemon development.
Which was really, really hard to compensate a lot of the time.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was definitely your entry fee. Like you talked, I think last week about the TCG having the entry fee 10 years ago, where the VGC did not.
Yeah.
I think the entry fee for VGC was you actually putting in that crazy time. Because frankly, when I say 300 hours, if you're from scratch on a generation, it was more. 300 hours if you knew exactly what you were doing and how to do it.
You were like well prepared more than anyone else could be. And yeah, that 300 hours, man, just to be able to compete. And you don't even know if your team is going to be good enough because there was no online ladder at that time. Like, you couldn't compete online against other players. You had the battle tower, and that was it.
We've had like the ranked ladders around you. It was so hard to get there though, because like, man, 300 hours to have a bad team and then you can't get out of Pokeball was tough. Like in
Yeah.
the Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire generation, where I probably played the second most competitively, I never got out of Great Ball, and I went to 2 different regionals and was horribly unprepared. I think I got 2 and 3 wins respectively in my 2 regionals, which was brutal. Especially because like individually, you spend so much time crafting that Pokemon, and then you think it's something it's not, and so that's been the probably my favorite leap in the Switch era, is that time is almost gone because of the modernization of competitive Pokemon.
Yeah. I would still like having a way to zero IV something for the people that want to be super anal about having like no IV investment into something, which is totally fine. If you want to do that, that's your choice. I like being simple and just hyper training all my Pokemon just
All
to
right,
make it.
listener.
Huh?
This is for you, listener. In the game's code is a new item called a broken bottle cap. Now, if you like Matt love the hyper training, you know bottle caps are what we use for our hyper training.
Yes.
So there is theory that DLC number 2 along with the Elite Four will have the broken bottle cap, which we as a guy who is anal, yeah, I'm ready for that.
Now here's a Pokemon theory that I'd like to throw out to you. The top corner of the right hand side of the map is still not filled in. Do you think the DLC is going to fill that in, or do you think they're going to use that for something else?
Okay, so I'll just say my favorite one that I don't believe first, which is that Galar and Kalos are intrinsically linked, and the ultimate weapons payoffs in the lore is going to be paid off in the Generation 9. It's my favorite one, but I don't believe it for a second. The Blueberry Academy is located in around the Unova region, and from the footage that we've seen, it's in like the water. So we've burned through now 2 DLCs within the first 13 months of a game's release. I expect there to be more DLC, and that's when I expect to see that top corner kind of filled in. It's going to be something weird, I think, up there.
Okay. So
How about yourself?
here's another idea, and I don't know if I'd like to hear your thoughts about it. The reason why I love gold and silver is because we could travel to a completely different region and compete in those gym challenges. How cool would it be if they created a game where we could literally visit each region and battle the gyms, catch the Pokemon, and instead of it being like a price up front but a monthly subscription? What would you say about that?
I would certainly be okay with them taking that kind of MMO-esque leap. They've definitely come out and said that they think this DLC thing is where it should go, so that they're not having to pump out a brand new generation every 3 years, which has been what we've had previously.
Yeah.
I would certainly, I'm gonna be a day one, you can have my money when they announce the next DLC sets, because I was really excited about this one's, and honestly, the first one has been an A+ for me, especially with the connection to the second DLC. That was my big like weirdness with the Sword and Shields DLC era, is that they were so disconnected. So I am really excited about part 1 and 2 being so crazy connected, and like getting to continue a story through several months. But man, I'd pay a full game price if they add on other regions and content that's like, level skilled, just like the first DLC has been.
Okay. Yeah, I could see myself paying like more for Pokemon if it allowed us to do like other things within the game. I'm kind of excited for the new DLC. The video that was like it showed up on my YouTube channel, and I think I posted it in our own group
Oh yeah,
chat.
and it's
That
on Cerebi. It's getting around.
and it looked like it focused primarily on double battles and battle tower esque NPC opponents, where they take natures and items into heavy consideration. So I'm really excited about that and see how like that.
It'll break down one of the barriers of competitive Pokemon that exists currently is you don't have a middle between like you can beat the whole game with a Breloom like I did, and you're now playing against another person who has VGC ready Pokemon.
It's like fighting
they're-
Cynthia, but it's a double battle.
Yeah. Speaking of, have you defeated the remake Cynthia yet?
Oh, and Pearl?
Yeah, the new ones.
No.
It's the first time ever that the NPCs have had those effort values put in, the natures put in, and the items put in to like real sets, and it's the precedent for what we should be seeing with this new DLC, and it's very exciting.
Yeah. No, I haven't beat her yet. I know that's on my to-do list and I just haven't put in the time to beat her yet.
She's a meanie.
She
think
is.
My favorite one is probably the second in the Elite Four, honestly, because they all have that caveat of actual like competitive Pokemon sets.
Well, I know the first time I attempted it, I had a Kadabra, and when I walked in with Alakazam, it wasn't so bad.
Oh, in the originals?
No, in the remakes.
Oh, okay.
Remember,
Yeah,
there's a trainer
honestly,
that says, "Hey, trade me," and it won't evolve because it carries the Eviolite. Stupid troll.
That was probably one of the greatest switcheroos in a mainline game.
Oh, it's
That
not
was
the Eviolite's the Everstone.
Yeah, the Everstone Haunter. Yeah, great moment.
No, it wasn't. I was expecting a third form. Okay, she got one. I didn't. That's so stupid.
I was never a big fan of trading the non-playable characters in the game, and so when I saw that going around the internet, I was like, "Yeah, serves you right." All you matchup trade-in guys right before Whitney being like, "Oh, it's not hard. You just trade for a matchup. Serves you right."
So, listeners at home, trade everyone in the game.
Oh, you're certainly a listener at home. Play the game how you like. Just know that you can play in such a way that I don't respect you as much. And that's my opinion as well.
All right. Well, I think I'm out of talking points for today's cast. Do you have anything that you'd like to bring up and talk about?
No, this was a great Thanksgiving cast. I would say before we go, why don't you tell the listener what your favorite food in Thanksgiving is?
Oh, I like stuffed turkey. I like the stuffed turkey. My sister made a herbal butter for the turkey, so it made it really, really soft and had loads of flavor. So I like the stuffed turkey. How about you? What was your favorite food?
Listen, if you don't have King's Hawaiian rolls, I don't want to come to your house.
we still have them. We still have them.
That's the thing. Like I'm pretty easy to please, but the King's Hawaiian rolls got to be there, so I often bring them. I'm not that guy. You know, bringing the mashed potatoes to go.
Bringing
along with the
bad
other mashed
rolls and
potatoes. I bring the best rolls. It's number one. So yeah, probably that.
and not
I like to
enough
make those
mac and
sandwiches
cheese.
with 'em. Yeah, you can definitely underestimate how much mac and cheese is there. You
I know.
certainly can. There was only, I think, 6 of us, and we did not bring enough.
There was 7 of us in the house, and we had enough for leftovers, but they were not made with elbows. They were made with bow ties for the mac and cheese.
So if we're gonna do some pasta talk real quick, listener, there's a new pasta. It just came out. It's really weird looking. It looks like a cone with wings, and it's my favorite pasta. Not because it tastes good or because it cooks faster, but because they had to create all new machinery to make this kind of pasta. So I like that.
Good.
I'm that kind of pasta noodle guy.
As an authentic Italian, I approve.
So we have no one to shill this week, thankfully. So I'll fill into that and say, we have moderate to loose morals, and if you give us money, we might read something for you.
I agree. Also follow the podcast. You can do that on Spotify and click the stuff there. We're still new to Spotify, so we don't know where everything is, but you can always leave a comment or something that I do read, and I will bring it up on the next cast where hopefully Mike will be feeling better and available, and Tyler will also be feeling better and also available, and we will talk live about what you guys leave behind. You can also find this on the YouTube channel, on Team Unconventional YouTube channel, and you can also find it on my own YouTube channel, which is Search1285. And all of that's going to be in the description down below. Without further ado, that's going to be the end of today's podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.